No! No! No!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Horror Pop Extravaganza. This is episode 58, the first in the year 2025, the year of our Lord. We are here to celebrate all things macabre and mindful, and we welcome you. I am Pops Ghostly. With me today is
Eric Sean.
Eric Sean.
Eric Sean.
I had to say it fast enough. What's up, everybody? Welcome to 2025. We are back from our little holiday break there. You know, everybody takes that little break between the holidays. Figured we would as well. We might not have been great about announcing it and shit like that, but we are back. We are ready to attack 2025. Erection.
That's Dr. Eric Sean.
Dr. Sean.
Yes.
Dr. Rex Sean. You got it. Okay, Dr. Sean. What is up, my friend? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm just over here, just loving life. As you can see, I brought my glasses today. That is because my daughter brought home viral conjunctivitis, and I've been enjoying that over the entire Christmas break.
Yeah, somebody farted right in your face and gave you the fucking pink eye.
That's how you get pink eye.
That is how you get pink eye, dude. Somebody pulls down their pants while you're asleep, puts their ass extraordinarily close to your face, and then farts little poo flakes, shoots them off like little pew 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 right onto your eye.
No, yeah, she does proud. She takes pride in farting on my pillow, and she comes and she's like, "I farted on Dad's pillow," and now I have pink eye.
My youngest will fart right in my face, dude. She don't even care. She'll be like, "Ha ha," run by, and sometimes that shit, I'm like, dude, it's fucking toxic. Yeah, so bad. Either way, though, we're not here to talk about child's flatulence. We are here to kick off the new year, I think, with a good one. This is one that I've been excited to talk about. It is from last year, 2024. I haven't seen a lot in the theater. I didn't see a lot. I should say I didn't see a lot in the theater last year. But this is one of the ones that I did go and catch. I was like, I really want to check this thing out. It was predicated by this awesome marketing campaign. Nobody really knew what the fuck was going on. And it was kind of brilliant looking back at it. You had these little snippets, and all you heard was Nicolas Cage. And, you know, you had these little fucking weird things. And if you don't know, we are talking about Longlegs from last year. It piqued my interest. I think they, you know, even drove a lot of their marketing on social media, had people like sharing things and shit like that. But I was very excited about it. One, because I love me some Cage, all the way from fucking Raising Arizona, you know, up into Mandy and shit like that. Like, I really don't care. I like all Nicolas Cage. Face Off. Like, that's when I fell in love with him as a kid, was fucking Face Off, dude. Me and my kid brother watching that shit on VHS. But him being presented as you never get to see him in all this hype leading up to this movie. You never got to see the character or even know, is he Longlegs? We're going to spoil the shit out of this thing. And this one is a big spoiler type of movie. So if you have not seen it, I do highly encourage you go check it out. Before you listen to the rest of this, go check it out because it's worth it to have it that first time be fresh. Yeah. So why don't you, Eric Sean, bring us up to speed? Who directed it? Who's in it? Who wrote it? And what does IMDb think this movie is about?
All right. So Longlegs is, like you said, from this year, rated R,
Last year.
Yeah. So 2024. Directed and written. Again, I say it every single time. If a movie is this complex, the writer is going to be the director, because how the fuck do you pitch this to somebody, you know?
How do you translate it? Yeah.
Exactly. So Osgood Perkins wrote and directed this movie. It stars Micah? I think Micah Monroe.
I'm not 100% sure either on that one, but she fucking rules.
She rules, dude. She plays Agent Lee Harker. And then, of course, Nicolas Cage plays Longlegs. They brought back little Blair Underwood, even though he was kind of canceled, as Agent Carter, and Alicia Witt playing Ruth Harker.
Yes.
And I love me some Alicia Witt. I love me a redhead. Redheads are the best.
Dude, and in this, she's fucking like terrifying.
Yeah, dude.
We'll get there. Yeah.
All right. You ready to hear what IMDb, how they attempted to explain this movie?
Just the way you teed that up, I'm guessing it was not very good. So lay it on me, baby. Let me get that Eric Sean.
In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end this terrifying killing spree.
Silence of the Lambs, or
It's almost exactly Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, that's weird because I feel like that there's so much more to this movie.
So much more to this movie that doesn't even like crack the ice.
No, like, are you ready to have your fucking mind fucked for a little bit? Because this is going to do that to you. Do you want to sit down and think about some crazy shit? Hail Satan, period. And that's it. Because I feel like this. So did you see this in the theater?
I did not. I actually went into it though without even watching the trailer. I went in completely blind.
Nice.
And I wanted to do it that way. Although then I watched the trailer later. The trailer doesn't really give anything away either.
Again, the marketing was done really well. It makes you interested enough to be like, what is going on here? I want to know what's happening. Yeah.
Right. So I went into this totally blind. I bought it like on VOD when it came out, and just sat down one afternoon and ruined my afternoon.
Yeah. Actually, this is for me being geographically located in the Midwest, even though this I don't think is in the Midwest. This is in Oregon, right?
Oh, I couldn't even tell where the location was. It just is so wintry and cold.
Yeah. It could be Fargo. It could be, somewhere in Minnesota. It could be anywhere. But yes, this to me looks like the landscapes I grew up next to, specifically the house that the Harkers live in, as our movie opens up here with a really cool, weird, like 4:3 framing that almost looks like maybe 16 millimeter or something like that, or Super 8 or something like that.
It was like 70s grindhouse kind of.
A little bit, yeah. It had a really cool grain to it. And we open on this really old country house. And like you said, not a lot of music and shit. It's just very ominous. And we get this little girl. We see her outside, and then we see a car. And we're just kind of jumping back and forth from perspectives of this girl. Mom's looking from outside. Or no, I don't even know if we see mom looking from outside at this point. We just see the girl meet him, and we hear this voice, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cage, if you're thinking of like typical Nicolas Cage, I mean, it's almost like the performance is not surprising, but at the same time, it's not like anything you've ever seen from Nicolas Cage or any other human being.
And that's the thing is, can you even say there is a typical Nicolas Cage performance? At least nowadays. Maybe in, the 90s, 2000s, there might have been.
Right.
But as the last, 10, 15 years or some shit, I've seen some awesome fucking wild things come out of this man. And I'm just like, keep doing it, dude.
Right.
Keep trying to pay off all your debts for buying Superman #1s and shit and islands. Like, do it. We love it. But we get him talking to this girl, and he's like, oh, one day before your birth, really creepy, telling her birthday's coming up. And he says something about, I wore my long legs today. Ugh. And then it comes to like fucking long legs title card. Really unnerving.
Very.
From the jump. And I'm really glad I got to see this in the theater, because I mean, the theater is always good, but certain times it just lends itself better to certain experiences. Like we'll talk about it maybe at the end of the episode, but I did watch The Crow this week, the Skarsgård Crow.
Oh, man.
So yeah. And I'm glad I didn't see it in the theater. So this, I am glad, though. I'm really glad. And then we jump immediately from here to adult Lee Harker, I believe. And I've only seen this a couple of times, so if I screw up some shit, forgive me, please. But I want to say we jump to her pretty quickly. We're on the case of, we know this Longlegs. He's left letters at each of these locations, and I think they're bringing her in to look at it because she's got the reputation for being kind of a little bit, weird with her methods. Like she's Mr. Monk and shit, she's just got a different way she looks at it and can figure shit out. And so they're all being corralled up. And I want to say he's like, all right, let's go get him. We're knocking on every single door that we run into. You know what I mean? And she gets partnered up, which there was a weird kind of winky thing with this blonde guy at the beginning, but then never really, I don't know if there was maybe a love element in there somewhere.
Right.
Something to give her some sort of, maybe she had a sexual relationship that was completely devoid of anything, who knows? She's a very eclectic character, but she gets teamed up with this dude. They pull into this little suburban place, and she's like, "It's that house right there." And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, we haven't even knocked on any doors or anything." She's like, "I just know it's that one." And he's like, "Okay, I'll go up here and check this thing out." And she's standing over by the car. Dude walks up there, just takes fucking bullet straight to the dome.
Yeah.
Coming out the, and it's like, oh shit. Little like cul-de-sac. You know what I mean? It's very modern suburban, what you would think of as the ideal American dream. And she calls back up, and that's when they discover in the house that it was all like plastic and shit everywhere. He was maybe running because she might see him run, but we don't really get any kind of look at him. We don't see him for quite a while. We don't get Longlegs. Right. We might hear the voice or see some things, but she ends up back at the police station with the captain, or Agent Carter. Was that his name? Her superior. Either way, whoever her superior is. But she takes all of the files that have been gathered on Longlegs up until this point. Because what happens is he gets it's always like a murder-suicide in these homes, but there's never any sign of forced entry. There's never any sign of like forced exit or struggle or anything like that. But it turns out horrific. Like dad got an axe, like murdered mom, killed the kid and shoved the axe in his face or something other crazy like that. We know that these are connected and they've been happening over the course of 30 years. Now it's happening again. They bring her in. She's got all this shit laid out on the floor and she starts piecing things together. She's got 30 days laid out. Yes, we know they were all within like a day or two or within a week or two, I think, of their birthday. I want to say it was their 9th birthday. That all of these girls died, and then she starts to figure out this like inverted triangle pentagram thing that lines up with all the other stuff, which is super cool. We see her awkwardness on display quite a bit. They go out to have drinks, and she doesn't drink. He's like, "Well, I'm going to drink, and you're going to talk." And this is very Silence of the Lambs, dude. This is Clarice Starling in many ways.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt Seven mixed in there. And then, I mean, there was even like elements of like Mandy in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some, and for anyone who hasn't seen this, and I hope you're still not listening if you haven't seen this, I love that this movie is a straight satanic panic flick.
Right.
That's exactly what they made it. They don't try to give you a ton of explanation for a bunch of shit, even though I feel like they do give you enough if you're just willing to be like, yeah, the fucking devil did it. That's really it. But up to this point, that's where we start to get there's the occult elements to this, but we have no idea. And she's like, well, it's got to be someone that they trusted who might have let them in, but that doesn't explain A, B, or C. So she's piecing it together and then goes out to her cabin where she is going to try and get some work in as well. And that's where I think, already established the weird relationship with her mother, but it's even weirder up here. Like maybe this is the first time she calls her mom, like, hey, Mom. Still your only daughter. And they're very awkward with each other. We don't get to meet Mom for a while, but she fucking rules when we do because, man, is she gnarly.
The conversation with her mom was so weird that early on in this movie, I was like, her mom's dead, and she's talking to her through the grave. And that would have been super cool, but they didn't do that.
No, they did not do that. But you're right. It could have been because it seemed that way. But she sees a shadowy figure outside. Mm-hmm. And I do like so the second time rewatching this, I had read that the devil's hidden in all these different places. So I was watching for it, like shadowy figures here and there. I didn't look where they were. I was just like, I'm going to watch for it. And I caught a couple, but for sure some I didn't see.
I looked it up on YouTube where they show it, and like, it's crazy, dude. It's all over the place.
Yeah. It's everywhere. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's fucking pretty cool. I mean, outside of the very obvious ones, like when she's, it's big behind her, the big shadow figure. But here she sees something outside. She's fucking, and she plays the agent thing really well. She's her breathing, her gun work, her corner play, everything feels solid. Kudos to them on that, because when they fuck that up,
yeah, it's always bad.
It's always bad. So she goes outside and is looking around and then looks through the window of the house and sees this pasty figure like running away through the house. She goes back inside, and finds an envelope on her desk that says to Lee Harker, don't open until whatever day. I think her birthday or something like that. She opens it immediately, which I was very happy to see.
Of course.
Because, yeah, why would you wait? She opens it up and then begins to pick apart the cipher, because that's what her superior said, is he keeps leaving these encrypted messages. This one came with a little bit of the code. She figures all that stuff out, then figures out the other messages. And even he's like, how the fuck you figure that out, Harker? Like, we've been looking at this shit forever. She's like, well, you just look long enough at something, you know. She doesn't reveal that Longlegs had been at her house. And maybe around here he even mentions to her, like, hey, go fucking visit your mom or something, or talk to your mom. They keep pushing her towards her mother. And we do find relatively quickly that there was one surviving girl who that day didn't make it home in time or something to be part of the family massacre. And since then, she has been catatonic in a state-run institution somewhere, you know, upstate in a snowy mountain. So they decide to go, or at least Harker's going to go and visit her. And this girl plays it super well, too. They're like, I don't know what happened. They're like, and they even asked the front desk people, they're like, don't you check IDs and shit? They're like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. But actually, I'm like, come on, man. Like, you check IDs at a fucking hospital in this day and age. Even though I think this might have been supposed to be like the 90s. I don't know if this is supposed to be modern.
Yeah, dude, I worked at a hospital in the 90s, and like you see in the movies, like where guys like sneak into the hospital and they just pick up a lab coat and they put it on and pretend they're a doctor. Dude, there were literally like lab coats laying all over the fucking place. Like, no one was ever wearing their badge. People walked into places they weren't supposed to be all the time. I was like, this place is crazy.
Either way, she ends up there with this girl, and this girl's performance is really solid. And she's like, I'm just waiting, like, to do whatever he tells me to do. And she's like, who's he? Like the man downstairs or something like that. She's like, I'll jump out that fucking window right now if he told me to, or I'd come right across this table and strangle you with my own two hands if he wanted me to. And you're like, oh shit, like this girl is fucked. She's in a really bad way. And she's like, can you tell me anything, you know, about the guy that you saw? Yada, yada, yada. No, I can't tell you anything. And then relatively soon after that, we somehow get the clue about the doll, where they find the doll up in the attic under the floorboards. And we've seen Longlegs when he goes to the hardware store to get some shit and he's talking to that girl. So uncomfortable, dude. He makes everything extraordinarily uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And she's even like, Dad, that fucking weird guy's getting here again. Yeah, can you come out here, please? Because when's your birthday? And we see him in the car, like, Daddy, Daddy. And he's screaming while he's driving. And but we do see him in this basement type area. Again, very a la Buffalo Bill's little wardrobe place where he used to make his skin suits and shit like that. He's making dolls. And they first found the one doll in the attic that looked like... Oh, because that's before she went to the hospital, because the doll represented that girl. She had been catatonic up until that point. That's what it was. And then when they brought the doll out, they were like 2 days ago, and it was right when she had pulled the doll. And the dolls are fucking creepy too. And the guy doing the exam on the doll is like, oh, beautiful craftsmanship. This fucking doll's gorgeous. But they find this little weird orb in its head that he's using like an ultrasound or something on, and it's making this weird noise. And he's like, I thought I heard my ex-wife's name like talking to me and shit through it. He's like, I'm not sure, but it's completely hollow. There's nothing in it. You know, if I crack it open, it wouldn't matter if you cracked it open, there wouldn't be anything there. But we learned later that, of course, there was something there. So Harker does go to meet her superior's family for the birthday party, or meets them at first and then agrees to come to the birthday party later on. But her whole introduction is so weird, because he's like, come on, meet my family. She's like, do I have to? Any of this? And she plays it really well. You feel for this character, you know, even if you don't know why, you're like, your struggle of just living life has got to be hard.
I get it, because I'm kind of like her. I fucking hate birthday parties too. I wouldn't go to my boss's birthday party. Fuck that shit.
I think she's a little more than just hating birthday parties. But they now They had already busted the thing open. So we're getting relatively close to where they catch him because we had seen him, making the dolls and stuff like that. Maybe there was a couple other murders, but she pinpoints it down. Like there's going to be somebody killed around this time, around this place. But I don't recall if I'm missing anything in between or why he ends up at the bus stop.
Well, that's the thing. I'm wondering, did he want to get caught? Is this all part of the plan?
To get caught. Yeah, I think that was part of the plan, but I can't remember how they followed the trail to determine that was him.
Right.
And then they just show up and he's surrounded by cop cars while he's waiting at the bus stop like
Yeah, no, again, this reminded me of like Matt Reeves' Batman, the way they pick up the Riddler. And then it also reminded me of, Seven, when John Doe just gives himself up. Or even when like there's that part kind of in the middle of Seven where they're like, we got his address, and they go over there, and the SWAT team shows up and everything. It's just like, it's that where you're like,
all part of the plan.
As the audience, all of a sudden the plot gets fast forwarded a little bit to keep you kind of off balance.
Right. And man, does it keep you off balance.
Yeah.
And they're all in the room, and this is really uncomfortable too when they're just watching the video of him.
Yeah.
But I want to say they had made the connection. I don't know if they figured out that she was the little girl at the beginning yet, but it's coming pretty quick if they don't already know. Because didn't they say we're going to take you off the case or something like that?
Right.
And because they're watching the video and he's just like, oh, it's all going to happen and shit. Like, happy birthday. And he's almost looking right at the camera when he's like, Lee Harker. And then they freeze frame on his fucking gnarly, pasty white face. But she's like, I need to talk to him. Like, this has got to happen. And then I want to say they did, right around when they pick him up, they mentioned the girl at the hospital. And they're like, oh, she fucking jumped. Like, right when they had picked him up, she jumped to her death. So she was completing her part of the triangle. It was all these things had to be lined up correctly, and all the people had to die right. And he's in there talking to her, and that's where we get the exposition that her mother saved her when she was a child. Saved her with a shotgun. Even though we still don't have the full story, we know that because she had already gone to see her mom at this part, right? Or at this point. And her
I think
mom's
so.
a hoarder. She's like, are you saying your prayers? And she's like, I never said them, Mom. They scare me. She's like, good, because they don't work anyway. And her mom's just this fucking crazy person. Oh, and then she tells her that's where she found the stuff. I kept your room all the same. And she goes up into her bedroom and finds a few things. And now she gets to sit down and talk to Longlegs himself. And he's telling her, kind of everything like it's happening exactly how I wanted this to happen. You don't have the upper hand right here. And then at one point after he fills her all in, or no, she says something along the lines of, you're done. And he stops and kind of looks and he's like, yeah, I am done. Hail Satan. And just starts fucking slamming his face down into the desk, dude.
That was intense, dude.
Yeah. Because he keeps hitting to the point where there's barely any muscle left in him and it just kind of falls down the last time.
Yeah.
And his blood is splattering, on her. And it's just like, oh, my goodness, man. Oh, very good, though. Very well done. Reminded me I like this movie because it reminded me of Last Shift, the police station one with the cult shit that was very Charlie Manson-y. If you haven't seen that one, we should do that one on the show because that's a really, really solid flick. I think you'd like that one a lot. But so now Longlegs is dead. And we'll take just a minute. That's why I really didn't try and do his voice too much or anything like that, because you need to watch this movie to really be hit by the Nicolas Cage performances. There's no other way around it. You have to see it, and it's just like, oh.
From knowing how Nicolas Cage is like weird in real life, I would not have wanted to be anywhere fucking near him on this movie because the Longlegs thing, but just how he came up with it. I want to see that. He usually doesn't present that part of his performance. You don't get to see the behind the scenes. It's all to him. But I would fucking love to sit down with that dude and just be like, Longlegs, tell me, how did you come up with that?
I mean, Longlegs, Mom and Dad, Mandy, like there's so many recent ones. But then there was the one I really like. Was it Joe? Something Joe, or is it just Joe?
Just Joe, yeah.
That shit, dude. But yeah, Cage fucking Trooper, man. We love you. Keep doing it, Nick. So he's now dead, and she is going to go talk to her mom and try and get some more shit sorted out. She goes out there and now gets the full story that Longlegs had come back. He's like, I'm going to come back. Mom made a deal with the devil. Don't take my daughter, and I will essentially sell my soul and be your servant. Just let Lee Harker grow up. And we get these couple of moments when she was a kid, and we see her telling a story. There was a girl named Lee Harker, who wanted to grow up, but then this man came. And the whole time you're seeing the images of Longlegs showing up, and we learn that Mom sold her soul. But not only that, Mom has been the perpetrator of almost all of these crimes. He's been just building the dolls and writing the letters. Mm-hmm. Mom has been dressing up like a woman from the church because that's how he presented it the very first time at the farmhouse. He's like, you want a prize from the church? And so now Mom has been posing as a nun and giving these dolls that Longlegs has made and put these things in their head that essentially creates a gateway for the devil himself to inhabit the doll. But Mom has to sit and watch all of the murders that happened. She has to be the witness to make sure. So over the course of the past 30 years, this mom has just been watching the most heinous shit happen over and over and over again while leaving the letters for Longlegs. And that's why there were never any signs of the forced entry. There were never in anything. And we get some cool, wicked imagery of these dolls under the black little veils with the demon eyes lighting up and stuff like that. Really creepy stuff. And then Mom shoots Harker's doll because she had it the whole time. She had the doll of her daughter and shoots it, and we see this like fucking dust explode out of her head, and then the doll has the same thing happen. It's very strange. She passes out, and I want to say wakes up in the house, but Mom might not be there, and I don't recall how she figures out she has to go to the birthday. Oh, maybe because it is on the day or whatever, but she knows she has to go to the birthday party for the captain's daughter. And she gets there and they're like, oh, hey, Harker. And this is, man, these people all play it really well. They do a really good job because it's super uncomfortable. Yeah. Like there's a knife or a gun to your back. Like you got to play it like there's a gun to your back, but you're trying to play it straight. Like, I did not say help us. One of those kind of moments. And so they're like, yeah, come on in. He's like, sit down, Harker. She's like, I'm okay. He's like, sit the fuck down, Harker. And you're like, whoa, this is getting intense. And then she turns and looks, and her mom is there dressed in her church garb with the doll sitting across from her that looks just like the little girl, and the little girl's all like holding on to it and like petting its hair and shit. And you're like, that's the devil. And her mom even tells her, she's like, there's nothing you can do. You just got to let this happen. She's like, we got to get some cake, huh, honey? We need something to cut the cake with. He's like, yeah, why don't you come with me to the kitchen? He's like, we'll be right back. Well, I'll be right back. And he goes, and you just hear this fucking as she's getting hacked up into pieces in the kitchen. He's coming out there ready to kill the daughter. And that's when Harker puts him down and is like, I'm not going to let, this dude kill the fucking little girl. And that's when her mom is like, you got to let this fucking shit happen. And she pulls a gun out. And they're drawing like down on each other. She's like, Mom, she's like, don't call me that. Hail Satan. And puts one right in between Mom's eyes. Now Mom's fucking down on the ground. So everybody is dead in here except Girl and Lee Harker. And we get this pretty ominous, ambiguous ending. And we don't really know where it's going because she's got the gun pointed at the doll for quite a while. And then I think we just cut to fucking black, cut to title cards. And I like to believe those two made it out, maybe broke the cycle because she got that girl out. Right. And actually there was two girls because, Harker would have been free realistically because the doll piece was dead. Like, I wonder if they would have killed that little metal ball originally if the evil or possession wouldn't have left the girl in the hospital. You know what I mean? Like the mom killed the kid's doll, so maybe there were two missing pieces. Right. Either way, fucking stellar movie. I'm going first this time with a straight 4 out of 5 pasty gross Nicolas Cages. It's unique. It stands very well on its own. I don't know about rewatchability over time. I think once you see this once, it punches you enough to kind of remember, like once the unveiling is all there, it's like, okay, I know what's coming. But I had fun a second time going back and like, oh shit, like I was looking for different things throughout the movie. But I don't know if it's something I'll go back to, every year or something like that, maybe every couple of years. But it's a ton of fun. And just for its ability to initially slap people so hard, I'm going 4 out of 5. So what do you got for Longlegs?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, this is masterfully done. It touches on or gives you vibes of a lot of other stuff, which I think every good movie does. It mixes all these genres and it takes from other things that are already established. And then this plays on everybody's like fascination with true crime right now, which I really liked. Yeah. Mixing in X-Files, mixing in Silence of the Lambs. It does a really good job. Amazing performances by everybody, but Nicolas Cage just knocks it out of the park. I don't think this would be as powerful without Nicolas Cage's crazy nuts performance.
Right.
Somebody who's really willing to like take a character and just go to a scary place with it. He's not afraid to go all the way.
Right. He'll be 100% for you. I'm with you, and I would love to hang out with that dude for a day. I think it'd be great.
Oh yeah,
it'd be fun. Yeah, hanging with Nicolas Cage. You'd probably have many. I mean, and even what was the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
Oh, that was so good, dude.
Fucking so good, dude. So good. Just most excellent across the board. So cool, Longlegs. And then next week we are gonna key it up right now. So if you have the time to watch Smile 2,
ooh yeah,
going into 2025, we're really gonna try and be better about putting what next week's movie is gonna be, just so you have the opportunity to watch it before the podcast comes out. But we're gonna get into Smile 2. I'm excited about that. Been waiting to watch it for a little bit since it first popped up on Paramount Plus. But with the holidays and everything, just life was chaotic. I was watching shit like Black Christmas and whatnot. But I did, real quick, I'll mention The Crow.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, this is our podcast, dude. We could do whatever we want, and we'll talk about this for a second. So it dropped down to $10 on iTunes. Finally, I was like, actually not finally, it dropped really fast. But I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. Waited a couple weeks, threw it on. There are moments I like in the movie. They are very, very, very few and far between. Extraordinarily few and far between. I don't understand a lot of I don't understand the characters. And I don't know if it's, I had told you when this movie first came out, that one headline that I still remember: The Crow was finally made for incompetent goths. And that's what this feels like. Shelley gets into some bad shit, and Eric was like fucking probably molested in a trailer somewhere, and his horse got wrapped up in barbed wire. We keep having these flashbacks of him as a kid. But they end up at a juvenile youth center together, where I guess you can commingle, or some kind of rehab center that they then break out of and just continue to do drugs and be kind of like, I don't know, like it seems like, get your fucking act together. I don't know.
Who wants that,
Right. Like, who is desiring, like, that's the relationship I want right now? And so they do that for a while. When he finally becomes the Crow, the fucking makeup is black blood that comes out of his eyes
so
after because he goes between the worlds quite some number of times, where he's talking to the other guy and he's like, okay, so I can get shot, whatever, and I can't. Some great sword and gun play. Those are the moments that I liked. Is there were some really cool choreographed action sequences where I was like, that's rad, I'll take that. The villain sucks. The fucking premise sucks. The whole idea, and I'm going to spoil this if you're worried about that, but I'm going to tell you right now because we're talking about this shit. But he saves her at the end. She comes back to life, and now he is stuck in the halfway place. He like trades souls with her, or makes a deal with whoever the ferryman is, or whoever is in this underground subway world. He makes a deal, and he ends up killing the other dude who can like whisper in your ear real fast and be like, and then your eyes go white and you like grab a knife and start stabbing yourself or the people around you, which I didn't fully understand. But as a whole, yeah, watch it because you need to.
I'm a huge Crow fan. I've watched I've seen the Eddie Furlong Crow. Like, I've seen the worst of it.
Oh yeah, that fucking Tara Reid Crow.
So I'll watch this thing, but yeah, it seems to me like they took the worst elements the things that are just kind of whispered about in the original material and used all of that as their base. In the original Crow, what's so great, the reason why we can get behind his pain so much is that we don't know very much about his relationship. So it's super like pure and fresh and like you believe in their love. And that's gives him the reason to go on this killing spree. And you don't feel bad for these bad guys because they're so fucking awful. As soon as you just tinker with that at all, it falls apart.
Yeah, and that's what we get here. And Skarsgård at times felt like he was phoning it in. And I get it. I mean, if I was a fucking working actor like that, if somebody's like, hey, I'll give you $10 million, fucking show up and be in this movie and covered in silly tattoos. But at times and I know how good of an actor is. I've seen him be that good of an actor. And it's not present here. Like, you're not like, that's a standout fucking Skarsgård performance. It's just not there. Their chemistry's okay, these two, but it's still... I don't know. Just like you said, there was too much of it. The relationship goes up for like an hour before you get to the last 40 minutes of the movie where he starts crying blood and all his blood is black after he does the trade. So it's like shooting out everywhere out of him. And either way, the Crow, I'm not here for it.
No good. About Skarsgård is that, he's becoming the new Johnny Depp. He's great when he's buried in makeup. And then as soon as you see him like with just his normal self, although John Wick 4, he was really good in, I thought, as the bad guy.
Yeah.
But he's I think he's just getting too far too fast. He's just going from one thing to the next. That's when you start seeing the performance suffer.
Right, because you're just so you're thinking about the next one when you're working on the current one.
Exactly.
And that's peaking you. I could see that for sure. But this one we knew was going to be bad. It's bad. So we'll just live with it, dude. We'll live with it. Make it happen. I do want to check out. I picked up Blink Twice was $5. That was the Channing Tatum horror thing that I've actually heard some pretty good stuff about. So I'm going to check that out in the next couple of days as well. So mindfulness, mindfulness. Quick update on I finally talked to my neurologist. They got a treatment plan started. I had to send a bunch of blood work and stuff and some other things. And they're going to start, I can't remember the name of the med, but it's like an infusion that I'll have to get. At first, it's like every couple of weeks. And then after that, but it's like you go and sit, for like 2 to 4 hours and get this shit pumped into your body to hopefully stave off the multiple sclerosis symptoms and stuff like that. But I'm very excited about that. Because man, it's been, say 4 or 5 months now since this journey started. And I know some people wait way longer than that. They'll be like, oh, I started having symptoms 4 years ago and just got my diagnosis. I guess mine just hit me hard and heavy fast enough for me to be like, yeah, dude, my leg won't stop shaking. Like, what's that shit? Am I the new fucking Michael Jackson? Like, just always have that sweet kick in my leg.
If you just learn to like lean real far, that'd be really good.
Criminal. I loved that shit as a kid, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I might need to just bolt down a pair of shoes somewhere in my house so I can fucking lean around like that. So anyway, all that stuff's going good. Started getting my calendar together a little bit for 2025. Got some tattoos lined up. Tattooed on my wife a little bit yesterday, but it's becoming pretty evident, at least right now, that my schedule, I don't think I'll ever be able to do 5 days a week, 7-8 hours a day. It's just, at least for right now, that doesn't seem possible. But could I do 2 or 3 days, take a couple days off, do a couple more days? But on top of that, I'm exploring some other opportunities that I think are going to be super cool that we'll talk about maybe moving into the future. But the mindfulness portion of today, and this stems from a conversation I was having with someone today, a really, really good friend of mine. And it's crazy because this is a friend I made as an adult, which is, you are a friend I made as an adult, but this is a friend who I've seen in person, like on all the time, the regular and shit. And we have a lot of conversations. And we were talking about life in general, because that's what I like to talk about. I've really gotten away. I don't really like to ever, or don't find myself ever talking about people, sometimes events, but more often than not, it's ideas or thinking about like something fucking different. But we were talking about, opportunity and life and the length of life. And this idea that you might reach a point where you can't do something new. And that's not true. Every breath you have is an opportunity to move yourself in one direction or another. And I believe that a lot of us are directionless, and that's where it becomes hard. And the directionless is easy to pass the time with, scrolling on social media or some shit like that. But then you see people who are doing things or presenting in a way that makes you believe they're doing things, living this extraordinary life. Even if that picture doesn't represent how you perceive that picture, you'd be like, oh, I'll never be able to do that, or I'll never be able to get to that. Where in reality, every single breath is a chance to say, hey, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. You have that opportunity. Life is about tiny little choices. And if you want something, I don't care if you're fucking 15, I don't care if you're fucking 85. If you want to do something, do it. You read stories about, a woman in her 80s just starts running marathons for the first time, or in her fucking 60s. Now she's running 100-mile marathons or some shit. You might not be able to do that. I can't run a fucking marathon. Like, it's just never going to happen. I never wanted to begin with, though. So I'm not sad that I can't run a marathon. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh shit, I can't fucking run because of multiple sclerosis. I fucking hated running all 8 years in the military. I hated running in track in high school. I've never really enjoyed running. So I'm not sad about that if I'll never be able to do that. But life is about a series of choices that you could make. And right now you can make the choice to push yourself towards what you want. And if you don't have an idea of what you want, I would strongly encourage, figure out what you want in life, and figure out exactly what you want in life and write it down on a piece of paper. Because if you don't know what you want, you're kind of like a boat in the sea, just being tossed around by whoever wants to push you whatever way, because they'll use you to push you towards what they want. You know what I mean? The good thing is to know what you want. Then you can bring that to somebody else while being strong. And this is moving me towards my goals as well. So at the end of all this, I was thinking about that Shia LaBeouf video from quite a while ago when he was fucking yelling, when he was like, just do it. You gotta do it.
Right.
There is some truth in that shit. There is some truth in that shit. You got to know what you want to do, and you have to just do it. You'll be shocked if you really just put your nose to the grindstone moving towards a goal, how quick you'll probably get there. It doesn't, all things take time. But don't make unrealistic goals. Like, oh, I want to build the fucking Eiffel Tower again. Be like, hey, I want to try and make a blueprint. And see if it even interests you. And if it doesn't, then I would highly, encourage you not to pursue building a thing that you're going to fucking be miserable doing the whole time. But find that thing, because we all gonna die. So why not use that time at least doing something? I mean, because there is no difference between, me, you, or anybody on the street. The capacity for the same amount of success, for the same amount of failure, for the same emotions are all the same in all of us. We all share that. They're all there. And I think most people do want to feel some sort of value and feel some sort of worth. I don't think people want to feel worthless. I do think people get pushed to a place feeling worthless. And sadly, that comes from a lot of like family dynamics and shit like that, where you end up in terrible situations or without a family. But I do think people want to feel worthwhile. And knowing that we all share all of those same exact things, it makes it a little bit easier for me to be compassionate to somebody, because they're the same exact fucking thing, just in a different package. They're the same: love, hate, fear, anger, compassion, anxiety, disappointment, blah, blah, whatever. The list could go on forever and ever and ever of all the things we all have in common. So it's a little bit easier to be like, yo, I feel for you, dude. Like, it sucks you're in a down spot right now, but you don't have to stay there. However, if you're insistent on staying in that shithole, like, I can't stay with you. I'm sorry. Like, I'll try and help you get out. But if you try and pull me into the muck, then I got to go the other way, because I can't be in the shit. I don't want to be in the shit water.
Nobody wants to be in the shit water.
No. But yeah, man, it's never too late. Never too late to say, hey, I'm going to do something different with my fucking life, and I'm going to make that change. And then you take the big change and you break it down into little changes until you get to very little, easy, manageable steps. And then you're like, okay, it's like laying bricks down. You just do one little one at a time. Pretty soon you're like, oh shit, that thing I wanted, I built it. It happened. But don't expect for that to be your happiness either. Like, when you get there, when we get to a place, don't expect like when I get there, then everything will be easy. No, you're still going to be the same exact person, but now in that place, probably feeling a little better that you know, are working towards something that feels good and natural and supportive and all those different things. So, you got anything you want to add before I ramble too long?
Yeah, let's talk about this because I'm the guy you're talking about.
All of us are, dude.
So I was in my 30s. I had, you know, the house, the picket fence, the 2 cars, and a lovely wife, and I threw all of that away because I didn't feel happy. So I got divorced, lost the house, lost the cars. All of this took time to go, and then I was basically like this clean slate again. And then I started doing it again. I got a new wife, and kids, and I built a family and bought a house and did all those things. And then I was left at a place where I was like, okay, now what? I really struggled to reset my life, and now I'm back to square one to where I was when I wasn't happy, and holy shit, I'm not happy again. I love my wife and I love my kids, but I'm not happy. So what can I do? So I said, and I was like what you're saying. I was like, I'm too old to go back to school. I'm too old to learn anything. I've been trying to do this movie thing, making little movies, writing scripts. None of that has ever taken, and it's because I never went 100% toward it. So I finally decided, fuck it, I'm going to go to school. I don't care how old I am. And I went to school, and it felt weird. It feels weird being a 40-year-old dude in a class with 18-year and 20-year-old kids. It's fucking weird, you know? And I realized that, like, I didn't have that, like, passion to, like, let's just film all night, dude, and whatever we get is, like, what the movie will be. Like, I don't have that anymore, you know? I'm like, dude, I can't waste my time on something if it's not, like, fucking plotted out, planned, scripted, pre-production, all that stuff. I don't want to waste my time with that stuff anymore. So anyway, I did it, and my dream always was to just be on a fucking film set with a bunch of other professionals. And I was like, once I get that, then I'll be where I wanted to be. Well, I came right out of college, and I fucking got onto a film set. And yes, it was a small production for Pure Flicks. It was like no one's ever going to get to see it. But I worked on a big multi-million-dollar production with tons of professionals, all people that had worked on Z Nation and were all, you know, had done movies and things before. And with actors that I respected and appreciated. Like, I was like, here I am. And I realized that that wasn't for me either. I was like, oh shit, you know what I do every day when I come to set? I fucking wash dishes, and I fucking wipe actors' asses as I like get them their coffee and their fucking water, and it's never right. There's never enough sugar in the coffee, or it's not black enough, or the water's cold and it's supposed to be lukewarm, or how dare I give them a lukewarm because it's supposed to be cold. You can't fucking win. So I realized, I was like, I'm just doing shit work in the place I wanted to be.
Right.
And also I looked at the people, I was like, okay, but I'm at the bottom right now. Let's think about, like, when I move up, how am I going to feel? And I'm standing there at 2:00 in the morning. I've told this story before, in the park, keeping bums away from the set and crackheads that want to just walk through. And they're like, I'm like, you can't come through. We're filming. And they're like, no, I'm just doing me. I got to get the thing. And they just keep walking. And you're like, what do I do? Fucking tackle this guy? Like, what do you do? So it's just bullshit. But I'm looking out there, I'm miserable and I'm cold and it's raining and we're on like take fucking 54 and we still got an hour to film because you've got your daily, so you know you got more shots to do.
Right.
And everybody from the fucking lowest guy, which is me, up to the director, is all standing out in the cold in the park at 3:00 in the morning with 2 more scenes to film. And I was like, that would be my life, dude. And then in a couple weeks, this is over. And then it's like, oh boy, I get to find another job again.
Right.
And even if there is a job in town, there's so many people that want that job. Are you going to be able to like be that person? When you're on a movie set, you have to hustle. You have to hustle and keep hustling. And that's that life. You're always like promoting yourself. You're always showing how good you are. You're doing TikTok shit in between filming. And I was like, that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So I went to work for a job and I was like, you know what? If I just made like good money and like I had like an office that I could escape to and just fucking like, I didn't have to like bust my ass physically to work. I could just use my mind to work, that I'd be appreciated and that would fulfill my soul. And I'd be able to just be happy with my family. Guess what? I did that too. And it fucking sucks. And I fucking hate it. And I have this toxic ass boss that sucks. And nothing I do is good enough, which makes me then feel worthless. And so I was thinking, I'm going to fucking quit this job. So I told my boss's boss, hey, I just want you to know I'm fucking done with this shit. So you're not surprised when I quit, because I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And she's like, I totally understand because of the situation you're in. I would quit too. I can't believe that you stayed this long. She asked me why. I said, honestly, because of the fucking paycheck is really nice at the end of the week, but I got to find something else. So I'm looking at everything, and minimum wage is $20 an hour. But guess what? I'm not going to go back and fucking work at Burger King or be a sandwich artisan at Subway. Can't do it. Not at 47 years old. So I'm fucking trapped. And I was thinking this whole time, I was like, okay, I got this 2 weeks coming up from Christmas all the way past New Year's. Nothing's going on in my job. So I fucking took it off. And I was like, I don't even have the PTO to pay for it, but I just need that time. And guess what happened? I got the gonosypha herpulades the very first fucking day I had off. And I've been sick for the entire 2 weeks, like in bed sick. I've got fucking goop running out of my eyes. I fucking cough all night. I can't sleep. I'm a fucking miserable mess. My family left and went to Ohio. I couldn't go because I'm so sick. And I thought this will be great. 3-4 days in the house alone, just quiet with my thoughts. I'm a fucking lunatic when I'm at home alone with my thoughts. I am horrible alone. Terrible. And I'm no closer to my fucking goals today than I was years ago. And it's driving me freaking crazy. I feel like there's this clock ticking away and I haven't got there yet. I'm that boat floating with no waves and no sail, like you said. And I'm that guy that can't fucking figure it out. And I know that leaving my job would be a big, huge part of it, but I haven't had work in the last 2 weeks. And guess what? I'm still a miserable piece of shit.
Don't call yourself a miserable piece of shit to start, even though you might be a miserable piece of shit. I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. To relate, this is just to relate. I spent 8 years in college earning 2 business degrees that I'm never again going to go into the business field. I don't want to do it. Like, I know I don't want to do it. That doesn't mean what we've learned isn't important. You know, I spent all those years in pharmaceuticals. Looking back at that, like, there's a lot of bad, but there was also some good in there too. There was some good shit. Like you said, you made it to a fucking movie set, dude. For kids like us, that was the fucking dream to be on one. You know what I mean? So you met your goals. It's just sadly your goal didn't reward you the way you thought your goal would across the board. You thought and we've talked about this before, my personal view is you can't solve this shit externally. It's not possible.
But when I look internal, there's such a disgusting storm that I'm like, how do I cross that storm? And I know it's like one step at a time, and I'm trying to do one step at a time.
And that's good, man. It is good. And it is hard though, because your story is not, and that's another thing to remember, is your story is not unique.
No, not at all.
You know? It's one that's shared by so many fucking people, dude. I mean, so many people. You look at the state of our society right now, and it is scary. I mean, you got motherfuckers, Green Berets and shit, blowing up fucking trucks in front of hotels and whatnot.
Right.
Like just somebody wake the fuck up. Dude straight out wrote it. Like, that's all I care about. Somebody wake the fuck up. Like, I'm just trying to get your attention, because that seems to be, and I'm like, what is this world we live in? And so it's easy, especially like you said, in the post-industrial revolution world that we've been in, the capitalism machine drives so hard that a lot of us have become just cogs in the machine for somebody else. You know, you're a quickly replaceable part. Like, as much of our jobs, you and I share that. In years ago, I was in the similar situation where a job was affecting my health to the point where it got extraordinarily bad. That's when I went to the hospital for my mental health and shit. Actually, no, this was right after that. But either way, yes, it was really bad to the point where I was like, I just can't do this. Like, you couldn't pay me enough money to continue to do this.
Right.
Because no, and it just doesn't work that way. But it's hard because up until that point, I had built a lifestyle where I was dependent upon my paycheck to support the lifestyle.
Right.
When I left that world, I am so grateful. I have an amazing wife. I was like, yo, let's do this. I sold off, pulled a fucking Kevin Smith, sold my collection off of all my comics and shit, and then paid off all my debt so that I could support myself financially while starting to tattoo and do those things and moving into another career field. However, even getting to another career field, that isn't the source of my happiness, though. I think it helps a lot. I believe I am an artist at heart. It's just what I've done since I was a kid. If you gave me a fucking pencil or a crayon, I was going to start drawing some shit. It's just what happens for me. So for me, that's natural. For you, it might be something completely different. It's probably writing.
It's writing,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, 100% writing. So there was that reward for sure. Like it was like a dream come fucking true. Like this is what I've always wanted to do. And I was able to take my business knowledge, and I'm going to continue to take all my business knowledge and ride that with me throughout tattooing as I figure that stuff out. However, it's no matter what comes at me, it's being able to go back to that place in my core that is peaceful. And then you can make almost anything in the world peaceful. I know that sounds not crazy, but it sounds big. You know, that sounds like a heavy thing. Whereas in reality, now for me, it seems pretty small. At first, it was big, but you can bring any situation. You know, when the doctor told me, like, hey, we're going to have to treat you in Ann Arbor, you got this spot in your neck. And I was like, hey, is my fucking like feeling and shit ever going to come back? Like, am I going to be cold? He's like, honestly, dude, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. I guess I've learned to live with it thus far. It's okay, dude. I'll keep rocking and rolling because I can come back to that place of knowing. For me, it's like an awareness of death and the fragility of life, and knowing that I can be like, is this really that fucking big of a deal, man? Like, and I don't know if anything ever will be for me ever again. Yeah. Outside of my mom's passing, I mean, people like losing people is always going to be hard because there's that separation. That's the cost of love. That's the cost of real love. If you truly fucking love someone, you're going to be separated from them, and it's going to hurt a little bit when that happens. But you're so
recording stopped.
Fucking, oh, my recording stopped. So that's that. But yours is still going. But yeah, have that little place inside of us, and that makes it a little bit easier to, I don't know, to deal with that shit as it seems crazy and comes at you like that. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I just feel like, right now, I don't have myself to fall back on. I'm not the rock that I wish that I was.
Sure. So find people, dude. Find people. I always told you could always get a hold of me if you needed to.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, is that I've created a life of isolation. There's the four of us. Our families don't see eye to eye anymore. All of our friends have drifted away or moved away. Yeah. And so it's just
I get that, dude. Yeah. And that's even harder because we need fucking people and real people, like real relationships. We need those in our life. It's important.
Yeah.
It is super important.
Yeah. But, so yeah, whatever. I just got to keep trucking, keep trying to figure it out every day.
Every day.
I do have a goal ahead of time, but it's like building the Eiffel Tower. So I'm trying to set littler goals, like you said. And we are trying to pull away from the capitalistic lifestyle where I have to work a shit job that I don't like to buy things that I don't need. You know,
right?
I don't want that anymore. And the more we try to pull away from that, the more we lose friends, the more we lose family, the more people tell us that, like, what's wrong with you, you fucking libtard hippie? Like, and I'm like, dude, I just want to fucking live on some land and not fucking be house poor and live in the middle of the city, you know, and to be close to fucking shit that like we don't need to do, you know. Like, I want to be more self-efficient. I want to stop eating the poison at the grocery store. And as soon as you say, like, I want to stop eating the potion at the grocery store, you know, like, people are like, oh, it's not poison, you're Trump. You know, it's just like the more you try to pull away, the less you have in support of doing that, because the entity itself, the corporate entity, doesn't want that for you.
No.
And then your friends don't want that for you because they feel like you're like losing your mind or something, like you're trying to break free of all this stuff we've been conditioned to do, dude. And then it starts making me crazy because I see like fucking Full House, which I used to watch on Friday nights, was there to teach me what family was supposed to look like. And I wondered why my family didn't look like that, but I wanted it to be. And I realized, like, oh fuck, the whole thing was built to like make you see what you're supposed to see and not see what's really right in front of you, which is just fucking smell some grass. Like, you know?
Right. No, dude. And I am, I am with you in so many ways, man. We've done a lot of the same kind of downsizing stuff. I try to, in those situations, and even if it's not, try to understand where people are coming from in those situations. And a lot of time it is a fear or it is a denial. You know, it's those same emotions that we can have. It's those same things, and they're having those. And it's the ability to say, hey, you know, they're just feeling the same shit I am, just at a different time.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to be a little more understanding. However, we live in a culture where I feel we have lost such a sense of any sort of self that we gravitate and have to hold on to ideas so concrete hard that if anything tries to shake them, it's like, no, you can't do that, because if you break that, then I don't know who I am.
Right. You're shaking people. It used to be ideas. Now it's faith.
Right.
Like they have to hold on to that there's not poison in your food.
Right. Or faith in the Democratic Party or a fucking sports team, dude.
Exactly.
Fanatic comes from, you know, when you look at the global scale, or the word fan comes from the word fanatic. You look at the global scale where fucking soccer fans, dude, at certain times in history, I mean, fucking destroying whole cities and shit, murdering each other at these matches over a game.
Right.
But that belief is so hard. Like you said, that belief is so strong that I feel so connected to that even, you know, you get Apple Android people, they feel so strong about their fucking phone choice that it's a part of their identity.
Totally, dude.
Yeah, and they'll be like, "Oh, I can never do that." I say I'm a Samsung guy. And I'm a fucking Apple guy. I have been for a long time. I stick with that because it is what it is. But we've attached to these things, whereas I think the answer is in no attachment to anything. And then you can just exist, and it's fucking really peaceful right there, man. When there's not all the noise and all the shit going on, and you can slowly just push it away and have this little bubble of like, none of that is who I am. I'm not even who I am. I'm just a part of this big floating fucking mess out here in the middle of nothing, who's barely a blip on the radar. You know, think about the tens of millions of people who have lived before us to lead up to this point, and all the people who are going to live after us. Just fucking put that noise, man. It's the noise. Just get the noise away.
I always bring it back to the Matrix, dude. The Matrix is my Bible. And I've said to my wife a million times, like, if I could just go back to the Matrix, to believing that like all the stars that I looked up to were good people, and you know that all the government was looking out for us and everything, and the FDA actually wanted to protect us. Like if I believed in all that again, I just want to go back in the Matrix. Put me back in. I fucking want to taste the steak again. Like I don't want to eat the white mush that tastes like fucking cream of wheat or whatever.
Right. I know it's not a real steak. I know it's not, but I can smell it.
Exactly. I would love to go back to that. But I can't. I'm out of it. And so, but then also like the getting out of it is so scary, and no one's willing to come with you. And so I worry that like, oh shit, is this another pipe dream that's going to take years of my life to make true? And then I'm going to be on a fucking farm with a horse and a cow and some chickens and be like, what the fuck am I going to do now?
See, but that is a cognitive distortion called fortune telling. We talked about cognitive distortions way back at the beginning, like episode 1 or 2 or some shit. But you don't know. And the thing is, though, is you're still, I see you looking externally. If I can do this, then but what if this doesn't? If you can make in here that peaceful, it doesn't matter what if. It's like, okay, what if? Well, what if something happens? Well, then I'll come back to that same place that I've been coming back into for years now. I'll chill the fuck out and realize that I'm a fucking tiny little speck of nothing on a huge ball. The sun is going to explode one day, engulf everything into a fucking massive black hole. But somehow have been around since the birth of the universe. Like there's so much, you know, it's got to be inside. It can't be external. The moment we try to make it external, it just, outside of, you know, I think those relationships and stuff, but our own personal well-being, because you're the only person that's going to be with you all the time. Like you said, right now I'm alone in an empty house and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right. But you're the only one who is ever going to be with you all the time. So if you can find that little spot of, and for me, this comes through breath work and, you know, meditation. I know people shy away from the word meditation, even though it's becoming much more acceptable now. meditation really is just breath work. Like you can meditatively do anything. You can meditatively do nothing. That would be the state where I try to do at least a couple minutes a day of just sit and do nothing. Just breathe. Just don't think and just let the thoughts go. They come and go, do all that, but just breathe. But then you can meditatively podcast. You can meditatively do the dishes. You can try to be just right where the fuck you are and realize that almost none of that shit matters. And your brain's going to tell you it does. You're right. We've been conditioned, man. We've been conditioned since we were kids.
Yeah.
Now looking back at the school system, I'm like, is it really to teach us that much, or is it to get you to sit in a spot for 8 hours a day and know how to be in a cubicle or some shit? You know?
And I just pulled my kid out of school, dude. Homeschool starting this week. And it's because I got to the point where it has nothing to do with, well, I mean, he wanted to do it. But there's so many people that push back and they're just like, oh, homeschooling shit. Like you won't learn anything. And I think of all the lies that I was taught as fact, like Christopher Columbus discovered the United States and the Pilgrims came over and had a nice turkey dinner with the Indians and they all got along. And like, it's all bullshit. It's not right.
I think it's that though. And the people who say that I have a problem with, because I shouldn't say I have a problem with, but I do have, you know, I think I could debate with, because we are homeschooling our youngest. One, I have a couple certificates and taught for a couple years, so I feel like I can develop. I was a curriculum developer. I feel like I can do that and do it fine. Two, I'm kind of with you. I talked to my teenage kids, both of them, and my son recently, and I was like, dude, be for real with me. If you were to take everything out of school, like what you do, right, and he goes to a really good high school. It's fucking like top notch, dude. Both of them.
My kid's middle school, same thing. Brand new. Everything's like no more chalkboards and shit, dude. Everything's computers.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's in the 12th grade. She only goes for a couple hours and then she goes and works a job. But again, it's like they're giving you that option now.
Right,
you know?
right.
But either way, I asked my kid, I was like, how many hours, if you were to take, you know, the time in between classes, lunch, getting to school, from school, all of that stuff, you were to take it all out and just have the work in front of you, how many hours would it take you a day? He said 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I said, that seems about right.
Yeah. That's the same thing my son said too. He was like, I sit there and do all this busy work and the teacher always steers away from the lesson. Most of the time she's correcting bad behavior from other kids and all the good kids are sitting there fucking doing nothing.
Right.
And my son was like, I could get my whole day done in a couple hours.
Right. And the people who say the homeschooling, you know, is some sort of a sub option. I think some of that, though, does come from our culture where parents don't have the option, dude. You have a lot of families where both parents are working and that's fucking hard. And they need somewhere. School is the babysitter in a lot of ways for a lot of people. But the whole people being very, you know, against it. There's an old episode of Boy Meets World. I remember where Feeney's talking to them all when the internet first came out. And this clip floated around online for a while when the internet first came out. And he said, you have all of knowledge at your fingertips and you're using it to figure out how to beat Bowser at the end of a level.
Right.
We now have a world where our children don't need to have a wealth of knowledge in them. They need to have the ability to find correct knowledge if need be, but they need to have developed fucking skills of resiliency, be able to overcome things, to look at the world in a certain way, because our suicide rates are higher than they've ever been. And I think it's depression, anxiety. You see commercials like, hey, is your one pill not working? We got a second one for you. You know what I mean? And that's still chasing something external to think you can fix an internal thing with it. And it doesn't fucking work. It just, the peg doesn't fit in that hole. It can't.
Yeah.
That is a very specific sized hole and you can't put anything external in there. It's got to come from inside. But Feeney was on point because we have access to all the knowledge. Everything. I mean, you have it in your hand right now. You know what I mean? We have access to all the knowledge in the world,
right?
Pretty much. Sadly, people are using it in fucked up ways, but we're not utilizing it to get us closer to Star Trek, which I think we should. You know, get away with money, take care of everybody, feed everybody, and then let's advance ourselves technologically. But we're getting to the point where let's just fucking sit here and scroll around on TikTok for a while, you know, and watch a funny ass video.
Yeah.
It is our responsibility, and I'll leave it at this, unless you got anything else you want to add. It is our responsibility as parents to teach our fucking children, regardless if they are in public school or not.
Right.
Like I'm teaching my kids already. They're young and shit, like breath work, the fucking Stoics philosophy and shit like that. Certain math. I'll sit down with my kid and be like, yo, teach me that shit. And he'll sit down and he'll, and I'll see them kind of learning and doing things. But it falls on our shoulders to not only prepare them, for a workforce, but prepare them to be like contented people who are only going to live a very short life on this planet, and to hopefully find some joy in that and some connection with other human beings, and not just be. And that's a lot of our workforce, those dude. It is. It's people get stuck in. That's why you get motherfuckers blowing shit up, shooting up offices, because I mean, like, you can only stretch a rubber band so far until it reaches its breaking point.
Yeah.
And people are like that.
And my only fear with homeschool is that I'm taking him out of what high school was. What I remember is none of the learning. It's all the social stuff that happened. A lot of it bad, but it did strengthen me up, and made me be able to put up with some bullshit. And I fear for that. All my girlfriends I met at high school, if I wasn't there, where would I have met girls?
Anywhere else?
Online, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nowadays. I mean, my oldest kid reconnected with a girl she was in first grade with way back in Oregon when we lived out there, and they've like stayed in touch for the past 7, 8 something years. She's come out here. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the social thing, and there are so many homeschool groups now, and you get the, like we do, gymnastics and things like that and outside activities to really get in there. But being my child, one of the most fucking just make a friend anywhere kind of people, you'll see. So I think she'll probably be okay. And then I've known lots of people who are homeschool who I've asked about it as well. I'm like, hey, what were the pros? What were the cons? What would you do different? What was good? What was this? What was that? Mm-hmm. And the people I know who have done it are very well-rounded. They're not fucking weird or anything like that. And I think a lot of it is now, though, like I said, the groups, people are getting the homeschool groups together. They're doing stuff. And you can even be part of I think you can be part of the school programs, like if you wanted to play sports. But I imagine that's where kids probably pick on you, like, oh, fucking homeschool kid. Play basketball. Well, that was good. Happy fucking 2025, people. This is going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year. I'm thinking around April or May. I'm not going to tell you why, but something told me April or May is when a shift is going to happen. I think pretty sizable for me, whether one way or the other. Could go.
Ominous.
And that's the other thing, is always knowing that it could go one way or the other.
Yeah.
You never.
And you're just okay with it.
Not like, yeah. But I am very excited about potentially starting, like you said, I'm talking about going back to school, man. Going back to school for a while to do something that my body's going to allow me to do.
Right.
Something that I'm passionate about, and I think it'll be really cool. So, yeah.
That's on the table for me too. I'm thinking about going back because I could live off my student loans. I wouldn't have to have this shitty job. And I would love to do some creative writing stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to spend all that money to go back to school. And then what? Afterwards, what am I going to do with my creative writing degree? Wipe my ass with it.
Creatively write somewhere. Yeah, and not in the world of fucking, you better start. I was thinking, honestly, I'm going to start writing all of my stuff on paper.
Yeah.
In the world of chat, GBT and shit, I'm like, I want evidence that I fucking wrote all this shit down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I think that's going to become something that people yearn for in the next like 10 years or so. Give it time for AI to really write everything and be the same. And then people be like, yo, I want somebody fucking really writing a thing.
Yeah.
All right. 2025. This has been episode 58, the Horror Pop Extravaganza. We are so happy to have you here. And hopefully you'll rock this year with us. It's going to be a good year. As always, I've been Pops Ghostly.
And I am Eric Sean. Eric Sean. Dr. Eric Sean. Dr. Erection.